What's going on, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Luttie's Look Back. My name is Nick Galuccio. It is our first big basketball show. We're talking about basketball, and more basketball on today's show of Luttie's Look Back. And let's start with my three big things from Arkansas's 86-75 win over number 19 Tennessee. The first big thing, Darius Acuff. He is the real deal, the freshman. We're going to talk about him a lot on today's show. The second big thing is free throws. They were the difference in this game. The third big thing, one game at a time. One game at a time, one win at a time is what Arkansas fans need to be telling themselves. Don't get too worked up at this point. So that's more big picture stuff. Let's go small picture and talk about kind of the two biggest things from this game, and that was the free throws, and that was the impact of Arkansas's freshmen. You can throw in Malik Thomas there as well, but Darius Acuff is certainly that guy for Arkansas. 29 points, a new career high, the most a freshman has scored in a Razorback uniform since Isaiah Joe back in 2018. And this guy has a potential to be way better than Isaiah Joe. And Isaiah Joe is a role player right now for an NBA team that is coming off an NBA Finals championship win in the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was good. He was great. He is great. Darius Acuff is phenomenal. And I know it won't always be like be like this, so I want to appreciate this moment because I keep waiting for him to have like this freshman moment, right? Not the freshman moment like, hey, I'm going to score 29 points in my first SEC game of my career, but a freshman moment like I'm going to go 1 for 11 from the field. I think that's going to happen at some point. I know he's a great player, but it's so tough in the SEC, playing against the competition that you play against. It's also tough going on the road, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Going on the road in the SEC is so difficult. But I want to appreciate what Darius Acuff is doing right now, something that no other freshman is doing in the country, no other freshman has done for a long time in a Razorback uniform, and that's just play at another level and also just look the part. Right? We've seen Arkansas players, score a lot of points, have some big moments, but passing the eye test, Darius Acuff does that. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism, he's got the silky smooth jump shot, the silky smooth reverse layup. He's got the muscles. I mean, normally you don't see that out of a guard, to have the tone he has on his shoulders and his biceps, something I have too, but you don't see it because of my jacket. Really, it's impressive. It really is impressive for an 18-year-old guy to be playing at this high level of basketball and to be excelling this early. And it is really fun. 36 minutes he played. He had to sit down for a few minutes because he was just gassed carrying this team for a lot of this game. But also, I say carrying this team, I also want to mention that it's not just him. He could score 40 points if he wanted to. I guess he was 11 points away from doing that. He could do that in a game. But the thing is, Arkansas has so many weapons, so they're never going to need Darius Acuff to score 40 because he's got guys around him, and that's why he does such a good job at sharing the ball as well. And actually, as much as I want to hype him up, this was actually one of his poorer performances as far as sharing the ball. 4 assists, 4 turnovers. That's not a great assist-to-turnover ratio. Usually you want to see that be a lot more assists than turnovers. It's pretty rare that Acuff will have something where it's balanced out at 0. That's rare of him, but he made up for it in big ways by making some big three-pointers, and he's just so efficient. 9 of 16 from the field, 8 of 9 at the charity stripe, 3 rebounds, a block, a steal. This guy has it all, and he has the clutch gene as well. Making that three-pointer with a few minutes left. After Carter Knox made that big-time three-pointer, which was really exciting, Darius Acuff comes down the next possession. If you watch that possession back, it was not a well-organized offensive possession. And Darius Acuff just said, you guys just get out of here. Let me pull up and shoot that thing and drain that three-pointer. That's what he did. And he made the three-pointer. And Arkansas, I think, went up by 11 at that point. And they ended up winning by 11. So exciting times for the Razorbacks, exciting times for Darius Acuff. My second big thing is free throws. I mentioned it for Acuff, only 1 missed free throw. Arkansas as a team, only 4 missed free throws. 29 of 33 from the free throw line. That is 88%. They got to the line a lot, especially when they were struggling, which was a big deal. Because we've seen Arkansas teams in the past go on these spurts where it's just like, man, you can't score. Score the basketball. And it's frustrating. And maybe we saw that at times. I guess the Houston game I didn't watch quite as much. And that was more a defensive issue than offensive issue. But we've seen that historically at times with Arkansas, where all of a sudden they just go on droughts. We saw that a lot in the Eric Musselman era. We saw it a little bit last year in the start of SEC play, right? This year we haven't seen that much, and that's a really encouraging sign. But we saw it a little bit in this game. But the good news is when they couldn't get buckets, they got to the free throw line and they got their free shots, their free throws. And that gives me a lot of confidence that a team recognizes, hey, we're not scoring the ball very efficiently right now, but we're going to get to the rim, we're going to get fouled, and we're going to go to the free throw line, slow this game down, and make our free throws. And that's what they did. They made their free throws 88% from the free throw line. I'll take that every day of the week. Tennessee, on the other hand, this is why they lost. This is why Tennessee lost. For some reason, if there's a Tennessee fan watching, you lost because you couldn't make your free throws. And Arkansas got a little bit lucky, I guess, in some sense. To win games, you've got to have teams help you out and make some mistakes. Tennessee didn't make a ton of mistakes, but the free throw line was where this was the difference in the game. It was a difference in the game. Arkansas 88%, Tennessee 52%, 12 of 23 on free throws. That's not good. And so I don't know if Arkansas recognized that at some point and was like, hey, we're going to play physical. And because we're the more physical team, we don't care if we draw fouls. We don't care if we get Billy Richmond in foul trouble. We're going to make them go to the free throw line and beat us by making free throws. And they couldn't do that. Tennessee could not do that. You got to give credit to the Bud Walton Arena, the home court effect. All those things helped out for Arkansas to get this win. But it was free throws, really, that did make the difference. All right, big picture time. It's a big game. It's a fun game. It's an 11-point. It's a double-digit win against a top 25 team, against a Tennessee team that will be in March Madness and the NCAA tournament, all those things. But it's just one game, right? And I don't really feel like Razorback fans out there are freaking out saying, hey, we won this game. We're going to go win all the rest of them, and we're going to win the national championship. I don't feel like the fan base is feeling like that quite yet, but this has the potential to be that step that Arkansas needs to get there, to get fans to overreact a little bit. And I'm not saying you can't say Arkansas is going to win the SEC, because they do have the potential to do that. And you saw that potential even before they started conference play. But the SEC is really good. And this was one game, and it was at Bud Walton Arena. Their next two games at Ole Miss, they should win. I predicted it as they win in my show last week. And then they go at Auburn. Both unranked teams, but both decently good programs. Ole Miss is okay. Auburn is decent. Not as good as they have been in years past. But those are on the road in the SEC. Arkansas, they've played one road game. Now, I know they've gone on the road and played neutral site games, but they really haven't been in an environment like they'll face with Ole Miss, like they'll face in Auburn, Alabama. Those will be next level. And I know their second game of the season, they played in East Lansing, and they lost that game to Michigan State. So maybe that can prepare them and get them ready for a big-time thing. But it's an awesome game. It was an awesome win, but it was just one game, and it was just one win. So let's take it one win at a time. But once again, it was Arkansas's freshman leading the way. Malik Thomas, I want to say 16, 18 points. There was a stretch in there where he was making everything that he was shooting. It was awesome. And then Darius Acuff with his 29 points. It was a fun game to watch, and it was those two freshmen leading the way. And here's what Arkansas head coach John Calipari had to say about them after the game.
Darius Acuff is a beast. You can say he's a good player. He is a beast. That's who, when you look at his body, you're like, holy cow, this kid's a beast. So he can he can score all kind of different ways. He's good. I mean, don't tell me there are 15 freshmen better than he and Malik. You can say it and then be mad about it, and that's what I believe. No, it's not your opinion. It's your hope. But it's not your opinion. It's your hope. But those two are good.
Yeah, John Calipari. I mean, you just got to love him. I think that's just a classic press conference clip of Coach Cal. And since he's on our side, man, I love him. And if he was still the head coach of Kentucky, or if he would have gone to, I don't know, UConn or something like that, I probably would hate him. But that was really fun, and I liked when he said that. But I understand if you didn't, or if you're not a fan and you didn't. Like if you're an Arkansas State fan, which you should still root for the Razorbacks. But let's talk about the Red Wolves. They fell over the weekend, and all of our teams played over the weekend. So basically what we're going to do the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to go through every single team that played this past weekend in the Division I world. We're going to talk about them. A few minutes on each of them. That's kind of how these shows are going to be structured for this winter season. Unless I think of something differently. Unless you guys tell me, hey, that's bad, let's just stick to the Razorbacks. you can always click off this video and just watch the first 10 minutes. We'll get to that. Arkansas State, third conference game, I believe, of the season. Yeah, they're now 2-1. They fell to James Madison 78-74, the final score. These were the two teams that were on the top of the Sun Belt in the preseason media poll, coaches poll, whatever it was. Both these teams, I think it was James Madison and it was Arkansas State. James Madison hasn't had the season, the preseason, the conference season that they wanted. And I think I talked about that a little bit on the show last week when I was talking about James Madison, because Arkansas, beat them on Monday night. But they won this game, and it's not an ugly loss for Arkansas State, but I don't think James Madison is going to pan out to win the Sun Belt. And I think A-State maybe has the potential to do that. It's still hard to tell. I personally still haven't watched enough of their games to really know. But I know they play a high-tempo, fast offense, similar to what they did last year. It's the new head coach of Ryan Pannone. It's a new era. So we're still getting used to that. We're still figuring that out. And A-State led for most of this game, 65% of it. They led 17 lead changes and went back and forth, but ultimately couldn't get the win. One big stretch kind of at the end of the game. They had 3 straight three-pointers. They were down 4 with about 45 seconds left. They had 3 tries at the three-pointer to cut the deficit to 1. They missed all of them. And I feel like some of those were rushed. Some of the players rushed them. And then that's what ultimately leads to the win for James Madison, because they did hit their three-pointers down the stretch. Matt Heyman, 23 points. Chandler Jackson, 19 points. Rebounding was kind of an issue for this A-State team, but hopefully they can make those improvements. Those little improvements that will go a long way for the Red Wolves. Now here's what head coach Ryan Pannone had to say after the game.
Obviously, tough loss. Credit to James Madison. Obviously, they were picked to finish preseason number 1 for a reason. They came in and shot the ball very well, 52% from 3. Part of our game plan was obviously to try to take away the threes. We didn't do a great job of that, and conversely, we shot 25% from 3. I thought our guys took the right threes, and that's a big thing within our program is we're process orientated. When we can look back, do we take the type of threes that we wanted? If we did, we missed. We live with it, which tonight we did. We took the ones that we wanted for the most part. Crowd was amazing. Obviously tough loss, but there's a lot to learn from this game, as there was Rice, which we did a pretty good job bouncing back.
All right, let's move on to the women's side of things for Arkansas State. These Lady Red Wolves can play. They may be even better than they were last year. And remember, last year they were at the top of the Sun Belt. I think they maybe number 2 or 3 in the regular season, and then won the conference tournament to make it to the NCAA tournament. Ended up getting bamboozled by UConn in the NCAA tournament. But hopefully we'll wait till later in March to talk about what that could mean if Arkansas State makes it to March Madness once again, but they're heading in the right direction. A win against Louisiana Monroe, 89-71, the final score. This team is now, I think, 3-0, 4-0. What do I have there? 4-0 in the Sun Belt for this season. I mean, this was a win that they were supposed to do, right? They were supposed to get done. They were supposed to get this win, but it's nice to see them actually do that. There were pros and cons to what I saw out of Arkansas State, the women's team, in this win against ULM. Kristlyn Rose was a pro. I mean, we saw how good she was last year. She's one of those few returners that is good again this year, that can just play, has that clutch gene to her. 16 points, 6 assists. Some pros were the defense, as always. 15 steals. Offensively, they shared the ball really well. You're going to have a lot of assists when you score 89 points, but 18 assists, that's pretty good. Put it in perspective for the Razorbacks, the men's team, 86, same thing. 86 points for the Razorbacks, 89 for the Lady Red Wolves. 86 points for the Razorbacks. I think they had like 8 assists. 89 points for the Red Wolves, 18 assists. So a little bit different level of basketball right now. Not that any team is specifically better than the other, although there might be. 18 assists is good. That means they're sharing the ball, and that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see early on in the conference season. That's the pro, and those are mostly pros, and they obviously got this win, so we talk about the pros. Small con that kind of drew my interest when going back and looking at the box score is the turnovers. Now, we saw A-State force a lot of turnovers, but they also had a lot of turnovers themselves offensively. Now, they scored 89 points, 18 assists. Those are all good things, but 19 turnovers might not win you a lot of games. As long as they're forcing a lot of turnovers and making these three-pointers like they do, they're okay, but that's a sign of, hey, let's take care of the ball a little bit better. Let's do that a little bit better. And they're facing some good defense in practice, so hopefully they can do that. So that's Arkansas State women's team. Let's now move on to Little Rock men and women. We'll talk about the men first. Men got the win. Men did not win. The ladies did win. Both played Tennessee State. We'll talk about the men first. You see it behind me, 84-79, the final score. The Trojans falling in this one. They had a little run late in the second half. It tied the game. It was a 9-1 run that tied it at, I think it tied it at 76 or 79, but ultimately they couldn't close it out against a Tennessee State team that was picked maybe third or fourth in the OVC. And remember, Little Rock was picked first in the OVC. They were projected to win their entire conference. Now, granted, it's one of the worst conferences in college basketball, but Little Rock was supposed to win it. That means they're projected to make it in the NCAA tournament to March Madness. And you've probably heard it before, but their issue, why they're struggling right now, and I know it's still early on in OVC play, and it was, they're already past their non-conference play, but their injuries. All of their local connections that I was so excited to talk about for this season are out with season-ending injuries before conference play even started. Terrion Burgess, the Benton freshman that is a four-star number two player in the state, out for the season. I think it was a meniscus. Kellen Robinson, out for the season. His brother, KK Robinson, out for the season. I think both have ACLs or knee injuries or something. It's just bad luck for Little Rock, and I feel for them. I feel for head coach Darryl Walker because he put together a really good team in the offseason. He used the transfer portal well, and they've got some good weapons. And Jonathan Lawson, who returned, and make sure I pronounce this right, Kachi Inze, as I believe how you pronounce it. They've got some good weapons. But when you have a lot of your guards that are hurt, you struggle, right? You struggle. And so it stinks. I feel like that's going to be a recurring thing I'm going to bring up every time I talk about Little Rock on the show is their injuries. And unfortunately, that's what the season might be marked by. It'd be marked by a season that could have been, but because of injuries, it wasn't. And hopefully they don't let injuries define them. It'd be awesome if they put together a run. Maybe it'll be defined by, hey, injuries, they held them back at first, but then they found their groove. And I hope that's the case for this Little Rock team. But Saturday, a loss to Tennessee State. All right, let's go to the women's side of things. Now a 76-39 win over Tennessee State. It is their largest conference win since 2018, their biggest conference win since joining the OVC. I had to go back schedule by schedule all the last 8 years or so and look at when was the last time it's been a win by, 37 points, and it was back when they were in the Sun Belt. So you got to go back to 2018, but a great win for Little Rock. We've seen them do it defensively, like 39 points, that's great, but to put together some offensive firepower, that's encouraging. Jordan Holman, 15 points, 9 rebounds. The defense, I'll mention them quickly. I know I just said that doesn't matter as much, but defense holding Tennessee State to only making 13 shots. Jordan Holman had 15 points. The entire other team only made 13 shots and had 19 turnovers. So great job by the Little Rock defense. They're now 3-1 in the OVC. But as I mentioned, it was their offense that kind of led the way in this game. You're not going to see them have this offensive performance very often, probably in the OVC this year to score 70-plus points, but they do it in this one, and they get the win. And here's what their second-year head coach, Steve Weedor, had to say after the game.
Very proud of our team, the way they came out after a big win on Thursday, to be able to come out and stay focused and, take care of business today. And, sometimes as a coach, you really worry about that, that you're going to have a letdown and things, but they really did a good job of staying focused and come out and took care of business today. Continuing to improve on offense. I mean, we've been playing really good defense for the most part here the last 3 or 4 weeks, and definitely got a lot of things going, on the defensive end. But, offensively, I thought we hit them, in transition today. I thought we got them inside some, and I thought we hit some shots, and that when you got all 3 phases going, that makes you tough to guard.
All right, move on to Conway now. UCA and Stetson, the Bears getting the win 93-73. They're 2-0 in conference play, and this was a team that was picked to finish in the bottom half of the ASUN. It's still very early. They didn't look amazing in the non-conference slate, but The first 2 games, 2 wins, a win by 30 points. I mean, doesn't matter who it's against in the conference schedule. That's impressive for a UCA team that was just not good last year and that lost their best player. But in the transfer portal, they got a guy named Cameron Hunter back who was with the Bears a couple seasons ago. He showed out in this game, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Tyler Robinson, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He's a guy who I think was out all. Was that the guy who was out all of last year and is back this season? I think it is. And you talk about sharing the ball. I talked about it with Arkansas State women. The UCA men did it in this game. 22 assists for the Bears. They had 5 guys scoring in double digits. Again, a 30-point win for Coach Schulman's team. That's good. That's confidence. That's stuff you want to see early going. And a 2-0 start to conference play is phenomenal. That's the men's side. Let's move on to the women's side. This was a huge game for one of their first conference games of the season. I'm sure UCA women will get Florida Gulf Coast again, I think later in the season at home in Conway. And that game could be really big. But a big opportunity here and just not able to convert on it. I'm not sure if UCA is as good as they were last year. They were a team that were right there to make it to the NCAA tournament, to winning their conference, but they couldn't get past this team. They couldn't get past Florida Gulf Coast, and that's been the issue with them in recent years. And this year I'm worried if there's a bigger issue there, just based on what I've seen out of them in non-conference. I could be wrong. They could go on a run. It's still early, but a loss here and a 13-point loss is not the worst thing in the world. I also don't think FGCU is as good as they normally are, but a loss here. Bree Stevens, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. She can do it all. Bree Stevens can do it all. Cheyenne Kemp, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 5 total assists for the Sugar Bears. 5 assists. As a team, they had 5 assists. That's one more than Darius Acuff had for the Razorbacks. I know they scored 51 points, but 5 assists, come on. They were also out-rebounded by 14. That'll do it to you. So obviously you need to focus on the rebounding. It's tough against a team like Florida Gulf Coast. They have the best players in the A-Sun, so that's tough. But a loss for UCA. They forced 18 turnovers, so you like that part of it, but you obviously don't like the loss for UCA. Hopefully they can rebound. I'm somewhat-ish confident that can happen with Tony Kemper's team, but we'll see what happens in the future. All right, a couple things to wrap up before we close out my show. It is now time for my Lutties Legend of the Week. A lot of great players, a lot of fun wins from the weekend, but I've got to give it to Darius Acuff. And I feel like it could be a recurring thing that I give it to him multiple times. I think he's probably about to win the SEC Player of the Week or SEC Freshman of the Week for the 3rd time in a row this upcoming week. He's that good, and so maybe I give him this award for 3 weeks in a row. I'm not sure. But when you have 29 points in your first SEC game as a true freshman, and when you shoot so efficiently, I can't give it to anyone else. So Darius Acuff, congratulations. You are my Lutties Legend of the Week. All right, finally, let's move on to my Lutties Look Ahead. The next game for the Arkansas men's basketball team against an Ole Miss team that Arkansas should win. I'd imagine they're maybe favored to win by, I'm going to say -2. I don't know exactly where the line is at yet, but that's my guess. We'll see what the Razorbacks can do in Oxford. It's a relatively tough place to play. It'll be even more tough next Saturday when Arkansas faces off against Auburn, but there are the details for that game. Razorbacks, Rebels, Wednesday, 8 o'clock on the SEC Network. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show of Lutties Look Back. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you same time, same place next week.